we have lost a sense of monarchy to the point that we literally scream what we do about monarchies coming back. Yet in fantasy worlds, in sci-fi worlds, they're everywhere as a hangover reflection sometimes of why we don't want to go back. Welcome on in, everybody. My name is Jenna O'Malley. I am your soul writer, author of sci-fi, fantasy with dashes of romance and nerdy references such as the Myrna Annals and Vitae Langica. More stories from that universe and others coming to us soon. So what are we considering today with the journey of what happens not only to the wearers of Arsenwe's tiara from the Myrna Annals, but also what happens when this is the only matriarchy that's surviving in a world that's largely patriarchal? And things that we who write fantasy, romantasy, sci-fi, and more come up against when we create our own governments, and whether or not they truly are breaking away from a mold that we are currently facing in what is current history to us and to other people, well, history. So let's go ahead and look at those items. There's about a handful as usual, and if you want to check out more about me or see what I have open for things here at the membership, coaching, editing, and more, description box below. Let's go ahead and get started. First and foremost, let's consider the cost of the bloodline. That is obviously when I call it the tiara of Arsenwe's tiara, the Arsenwean tiara that Arsenwe wore upon her head. It has a lot of significance to it. Who is she? Well, according to human history, she is the sister of Cleopatra. Yes, that Cleopatra, the sister, one of, that Cleopatra had her lovers help get rid of to become the last Ptolemaic ruler group of Egypt. Well, Arsenwe was the first mother of vampires, and it started the whole Hunters' War that Mark Antony's army is the final rendition of bleeding into, and that's a lot for one person to carry on their shoulders. Something that gets mentioned again and again early on in book 1, 2, and 3 of season 1 is the weight of Nephtyri's bloodline. She has not only the duty to serve the tiara as part of that, and she also has this quality of her persona where she herself has to consider, do I want to continue passing this on to my daughters? She saw what had happened to an adoptive daughter already. That's what happened with Rochelle. She has another adoptive daughter in her midst by the end of season 1, book 5, with Iona, and a son of her own, and possibly more on the way. Does she really want to pass down a boulder that might have started like a pebble on her great-grandmother's head, to be fair? The other thing that we get to consider here is the myth that there's always a stoicism about it. Nephtyri can be rather stoic and aloof. It's a bubble that doesn't last very long. Once you get past the bubble, it bursts. She is that way because politics required her to be that way. So how are you removing us from this symptom of oppressed emotional trauma in the stoicism into someone who grows beyond that, not just for the sake of the reader, not just for the sake of the other people in the plot, but as Ian entices Nephtyri to do, to move beyond people-pleasing and doing it for the self first. So you can see in the escapism that some people might find in your fandom, you might see that there's this natural tendency to bridge the gap between a private struggle and whether or not to isolate on it. Really deep diving into characters who explore those tones tend to be more matriarchal, especially when they're looking at everyone around them as if they are part of a circle, not a hierarchical triangle. Now, some of you are like, but Jenna, there's ranks in the Myrna Annals. For those of you who know my fandom, there's only ranks because we have people and we assign them work to do to feel like they're part of the whole. You want to be here? Fine. We have a lot of work to do. If you're bored, we can give you stuff to do. That's really the only reason why they're ranks. It's just an easier way to call each other. You can change ranks with some effort and some merit behind it to prove it. Therefore, you go into deconstructing this identity and model some hardships that in a fantastical, even medieval or futuristic based realm, you're probably playing into things that have been explored again and again and again over the last century through different types of literature alone, because, well, current events eventually become history, and often we see a reflection of both through the art of the time. You are doing that as a part of the art of the time, which helps you to then therefore go into the generational architecture of the landscape and look at the narrative power of the characters and the plot that you are instilling into not just one book, not just one series, but maybe making it an entire thing, that this is your brand. Yes, use your voice. You're talking and you're writing anyway. Does it have a legacy payoff in that way that allows you to look at the impossible and say, no, there's actually solutions that we as a society could consider. Here's a fictional example that actually, this therefore of course leads you to being some sort of cycle breaker, dealing with vulnerability. We always talk about how, you know, readers relate to the characters. After all, most people do have their favorite. Nephtyri is not normally a favorite for me, even though she's the main headliner or one of my show. It's normally Frey or one of the side characters everybody loves. So this is why I entice you to not consider just making this only about your primary character. Maybe it's something that one of your side characters goes through in the background as a B-plot that ends up building an even more authentic connection, because yeah, that's going to bring in people who are coming back for more than just one-dimensional or two-dimensional story plot, laughs, enjoyment, lessons, and things they thought they would never get out of the escape that you could be giving them in a fiction sense. Therefore, you're really looking at being a sense of an architect when you are changing fiction in this way. And having taught both modern, colonial, and postmodern and post-colonial literature, and also written extensive research on those eras myself from like a historian and art impact on those eras, we really do see that our perspectives are transforming the world. Some of us look at the works of people from the modern and postmodern and colonial and post-colonial eras and say, if it weren't for them, we would not be able to do what we are able to do. We are a reflection of a world wanting to change into something more profound, not just relatable for us, but also this timeless aspect of, well, even the tale of Macbeth comes up again and again for a reason. The tale of Cicero comes up again and again for a reason. All of the stories of every dystopian female archetype that you could ever imagine, every comic book hero, every protagonist or antagonist that you do and don't admire and love to loathe and love to enjoy and cheer after for whatever reason. They too are a reflection of what someone had in a moment in time, and this creates a win condition, especially for your royal characters. We have lost a sense of monarchy to the point that we literally scream what we do about monarchies coming back. Yet in fantasy worlds, in sci-fi worlds, they're everywhere as a hangover reflection sometimes of why we don't want to go back. And therefore, all the more reason you are doing the right thing. So take care of yourself along the way, because now more than ever, you are penning the story from your soul, because you're expressing what matters most in your pace and your time and your stride. If you made it this far, go ahead and let's put in a smiley face emoji of your picking this time. And if I don't see you in sprints this weekend for Virtual Writing Retreat Weekend, maybe I'll catch up with you sometime in May about virtual and physical places. All my hugs, you matter. Dang it.